This is my journey. Inspired one story at a time, a library of leaders was created. It began as a journey to learn. As time went on, it began to grow. All it needed was a platform, and this podcast was created to listen, to inspire, to share. I am a storyteller, and this is my journey. Welcome to another episode of Profiles in Leadership. I'm your host, Steve Anderson, and today our guest is Murphy Jensen, who is the co-founder and EVP of WEconnect Health, a Seattle-based healthcare company that provides support and services through a mobile application to people suffering from substance misuse and mental health disorders. After years of playing professional tennis and winning the French Open doubles match with his brother, Murphy hosted TV shows Open Access and Murphy's Guide on the Tennis Channel. Using the game of tennis to support his favorite causes, Murphy participates in events like the Prostate Cancer Foundation Pro-Am and Chris Everett's Celebrity Classic. Lending his infectious positive attitude and genuine love of the game, Murphy brings fun wherever he goes. Surviving a sudden cardiac arrest in October 2021, Murphy was saved by an on-site AED and CPR. Murphy is a spokesman for the American Heart Association and partner in the did I say that right? Gootter-Jensen Foundation.
Yep.
Foundation. He continues the recovery from his cardiac event and the traumatic brain injury he suffered when he collapsed, having added a new layer to Murphy's advocacy for mental health awareness. Murphy is known as one of the most entertaining people in tennis, reminding people that tennis is supposed to be fun. Breaking down walls and finding a human connection is as much a part of finding success in the game of tennis as a forehand and a backhand. So Murphy, welcome to the program. It's really great to have you on today.
Well, Stephen, it's to hear the intro. I'm thinking to myself, Stephen does his homework. And very, very cool. I'm over the moon excited to have some fun with you today.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to it too. So let's just start with some context. Now, let's just kind of talk about where you grew up and kind of how you found tennis. I believe it was in the state of Michigan. So just tell us a little bit about growing up and how you got into this tennis world.
Well, October 30th, 1968, the hospital I was born in would never be the same again. In Ludington, Michigan. I was raised on a Christmas tree farm. Not a lot of tennis champions come from a Christmas tree farm.
Yeah.
Some say I was raised by wolves later on in life, but it was mom and dad, Patricia and Howard, and they had a dream that one day their two boys would one day play in the NFL, become football players. And
okay.
someone had given my dad a tennis racket and asked him to coach the high school tennis team. And he started reading about tennis and learning about tennis. And he said he felt that tennis would be great for our footwork for football if we learned the skills of tennis. And then the hand-eye coordination. He was an exceptional athlete that played pro football for the New York Giants back in the day with Y.A. Tittle and Sam Huff and those New York Giants G-men. And then back then they didn't wear helmets and he didn't want to wait to become a star, so he went and played some professional football in Canada. My mom was an acclaimed gymnastics coach, so I was raised around gymnasts. And while they were doing their balance beam and floor routines and all the gymnastics trainings, Luke and I were learning and developing a tennis game on the hitting wall, just playing on a wall. We learned to play on the wall. Our dad was the high school tennis coach, and we built a court in our backyard, and with no real intention on becoming tennis players. But one thing led to another, and we got pretty good pretty fast.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Well, you must have certainly had the desire and some natural skill to get to that level. I think I told you earlier that, my son was a junior tennis player, and I can remember when you two hit the scene, it was exciting because, tennis can be a little formal, a little stodgy sometimes. And you guys
Yeah.
came in and I think it was called, you brought rock and roll tennis to the professional
Well,
tennis.
it was the 90s, and it was rock and roll tennis by John McEnroe or grunge tennis by others.
Yeah,
And, you know, we grew up in a place that my dad knew the secret sauce to becoming great, and that was to have fun in what you're doing.
yeah,
And one of the ways he had fun was on Spirit Day, he would allow his high school team to dress any way they wanted. And it was a little fishing town, a summer community. Salmon fishing was a big deal. And so a couple of players would wear fishing waders for Spirit Day. Other players would dress up as clowns and have fun. And they were having
yeah.
fun. And it was, they would win matches and jump off bridges into the water or tip cows. And so when you see the Jensens on center court at Wimbledon or winning the French Open, and these colorful, wild Jensen brothers, we were just raised by parents and the high school kids and aspiring athletes that were taught to have fun doing what they were doing.
That's awesome. I can remember that when you came out with those kind of more loud clothes than you're used to. I remember one writer said, I think they took gas station attendant shirts and cut off the sleeves and had a name tag on the front, and
Yeah,
it was just like, it was so awesome. And then, you had pretty long hair, but your brother had really long hair.
yeah.
So it was definitely, not quite what
Long hair. We weren't wearing the Wimbledon whites, and even if we wore the Wimbledon whites, my brother got banned from. He didn't necessarily get banned, but he got reprimanded at Wimbledon because his warm up suit was white, but it was a white python leather jacket, and I don't know, maybe pythons were on the some species list of something, and you're not allowed to wear a python leather jacket on the court. And someone had given it to him, and he was playing mixed doubles with Jennifer Capriati at the time.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, the mechanic shirts are a really interesting story in
Yeah.
that. When I'm watching Shoe Dog or the movie about the Air Jordan shoe and the Air Jordan story,
Yeah.
right over here in my office, it just got, I'm watching that movie, and the designer of the very first Air Jordan shoe was the designer of those mechanic shirts.
Oh,
Was the
really?
designer and the big when I'm watching the movie, I'm having a terrible experience or a memory because I sat across from Peter Moore.
Yeah.
Bob Strasser was played by Jason Bateman. He's the marketing guy for Nike, for Phil Knight.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Matt Damon plays Sonny Vaccaro, the person responsible for discovering Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
And Peter Moore, the designer, looks across from us as he's taking our ideas about the gas station mechanic shirts. We had wild clothes,
Yeah.
flames and bandanas and sunglasses I'll never forget him asking this question. And I was reminded in the movie, do you want a shoe deal or a clothing deal? I'll design either one. And the biggest mistake of my life was taking a clothing deal. We just thought there's more personality in the clothes. And the
Yeah.
truth is, a shoe lasts forever.
Yeah. Well, that's a good point. I also read that, you were the younger brother. Luke was your older brother, and that you just really looked up to him. In fact, you kind of considered him your superhero. So, brothers can be tough on each other, but it sounded like you just really, really adored your older brother.
Yeah, it goes beyond blood with my brother Luke, especially as we grew up on that Christmas tree farm. We were playing hide and seek or salmon fishing in the rivers or challenging each other. To me, he was Superman. He is Superman.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I feel that I thought that because he always made me feel safe and protected. He always made me feel, um, you know, incredible.
Yeah.
He just believed in me, and as we got older, I have now not a script, but I have evidence to support that label I give him as uh,
That's great.
my superstar.
Still close with him today?
Yeah, we
Yeah,
talk just about every day,
that's great.
through thick and thin. What it said on our Adidas clothes, on those mechanic shirts or anything we wore was the Jensen brothers, till death do us part. And those
Yeah.
words maybe didn't mean much back in 1993 when we signed that Adidas contract with Adidas America, and we became the third largest draw in the game behind Agassi and Sampras and center court attractions. And it was later in life, till death do us part, would really take meaning and shape.
Well, that's a good lead in because the next part of the story is, I mean, I know there's more in between that we'll cover too, but you were playing mixed doubles with your partner, Abigail Spears, is that right? And it was a celebrity event, I think, and you went up to do a serve and just dropped and had a cardiac arrest and hit your head really hard. And um, I think you said your heart stopped for 18 minutes. I mean, that's just a crazy story. And so tell us a little bit about what happened and why you think it happened.
Whew. Well, I have to pause when I go back in time. 4 years, the night before my 53rd birthday, with everything to live for. Uh, I've already overcome, in my mind's eye, a number of big challenges and setbacks. And my big boy is graduating Seattle U, and he's thriving on every level. And my 4-year-old was courtside in attendance, and I'm
Yeah.
supporting my brother. He'd just been named the tennis director at the Garden of the Gods Resort, and I went to serve, and I'm in the best physical shape of my life. And I toss the ball up. I'm in the trophy position, and the ball drops, the racket drops, and then I fall back because my heart had stopped, and I land and crash my brain and my skull, and my
Fractured 5 places, I heard,
yeah,
right? And
cracked
broken teeth and yeah.
cracked open, my teeth broken, and my head started bleeding out. And within 30 seconds, there were some off-duty medical professionals that ran to my side. And the first thing that was screamed was, where's the AED? And it's ironic because the day before, my brother had been coached up. It's his first day on the job by an ex-fire chief. And this fire chief showed him where the AED was, which was right behind our tennis court. My brother was returning serve, so he was 10 feet away. He sprinted, grabbed the AED, ran it over. The ex-fire chief and the others would conduct, they'd break my ribs and sternum, conduct CPR and chest compressions, and shock me 6 times on that court over the course of 18 minutes before they eventually found a pulse in maybe my foot. And then they lost that pulse again on the ambulance ride. And within those 18 minutes, my brother was screaming, Jensen's never quit. Jensen's never quit. This is not your time. Your wife needs you. I need you. Jensen's never quit. And you could have heard it 10 states away. So I've been told.
Yeah.
Um, and in my brother's eyes, his words are, this is it. This is the last time I'm ever going to see or talk to my brother. Um,
Gosh.
and so they shocked me 2 more times on the way to the ambulance, and they get somewhat of a pulse, and they induce me into a medically induced coma.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it will be 7 days, and they don't know which Murphy they're going to get back because that's a long time.
That's a long time.
And the
And I
date
think
that
it was incredible the stat too that I read about from the fire chief. He said that hadn't he given like 125 um, AED shocks to people, and he'd only saved three, and so four.
I
Yeah, you're
know
number four.
I'm number
You're
four.
number four. So I mean, though those aren't great odds. So not only living past when you were out for 18 minutes, but then to survive and still doing what you're doing is just an absolutely amazing, incredible story. And I can hear your emotion when you tell it. I can only imagine.
Stephen, do you believe in miracles?
Well, obviously, I do, and I think you were one of them.
Yeah, I am. I am. Thank God.
Yeah, yeah, that's crazy. So, you recover from that. It took a long time. There was a lot of unknown. Um, what was was it just never give up? And I see the sign behind you, love wins. Is it just those strong things that just pulled you in, or what? I mean, you must have been scared to death at first.
Well, I become close with Damar Hamlin, and the first words out of his mouth was, "Did we win?" You know, he's
Yeah.
still hooked up to a ventilator. People prayed for me. People sang to me in my coma. Roger Federer reached out. Chris Evert, Billie Jean King, you name it. Bill Gates. There is no shortage of amazing people. The tennis world would pray. The world would fly in from around the country to help my wife. I have no memory of this event. Everything
Yeah.
I'm sharing with you is what's been told to me, so it's impossible not to feel my feelings around these issues because of my brother's experience, my wife's experience. My son Duke, now 8, wanted nothing to do with the tennis court. So I come out of they knew they had to get me out of that coma to see what Murphy they were going to get. And at first it wasn't good. All the measurables say that I am going to be a vegetable and I'm not going to have a normal life and or a normal heart, a normal brain function. Cognitively, I didn't know who I was, and my wife would say, "Your name is Murphy. I'm your wife, Kate. You're in the ICU. You've had a cardiac arrest." And this is for a few days that they would be telling me this all day long.
Yeah.
And I was seeing things that wasn't there. Like it was wild. If you really want to know, I'll tell you. But like the head of a human was a lettuce head. It's become an inside family joke, seeing any of the lettuce heads today with eyeballs. But at the
Okay.
time, it wasn't funny.
Yeah, I'm
And
sure not. That's a
and
nightmare.
so I didn't say, "Did we win?" But I did say to my wife when I eventually got coherent to know, I said, "This is going to make a good chapter in my book."
Yeah.
And it's like,
Yeah.
oh my God. And so she's like, "He's in there." The doctor is saying, "He's in there. He's in there." It's just hard to believe when I see videos. And speaking of Damar with the Buffalo Bills,
Yeah. Oh,
it
yeah.
was just last week was the first time I could watch him uh, fall, go
Oh,
down.
gosh.
Last
Yeah.
week, 4 years later, is and I know him. I got him on my phone, and we both spoke at a congressional hearing and supported the AED Act together, and we became fast friends and supporters of each other. And this thing called life, this love wins, was inspired by. I truly believe you asked, maybe what happened or what saved me, or I truly believe that the universal consciousness, something more is going on. A lot of people want to know what it's like on the other side. Well, being on your podcast is the other side. sharing my experience, whatever strength, hope, love. I was lifting weights this morning.
Yeah.
This guy's pounding some big weight, big dude, and I'm 6'4", and he's probably 6'6", just dropping some heavy weight. And I said, yeah. Turns out he works for the Bainbridge Island Fire Department where we now live.
Yeah. Yeah.
We've moved since part of my recovery was moving here to the island because it's a good thing for my brain function and my head and part of my recovery. And so we got to talk, and I asked him why he is a software salesman, and he became a
Yeah.
fireman.
Wow.
And before the conversation, and I asked him just what's the craziest thing or the coolest thing that's ever happened to you, and just being curious, right?
Right.
And then before I left, I just put my hand on his heart, and I told him that people in your profession saved my life, and
Yeah.
I have a place in my heart for all the first responders.
Yeah, for sure. And speaking of hearts, it's been said that you have a big heart, and that's in more ways than one. The big heart you just explained of touching and connecting with people, but also, you did have an enlarged heart, which was part of the issue. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's just it's a wild story.
You think as a kid, when the doctor, it was years ago, Dr. Norman Lepore did all these tests and said, Murphy, you've got a really big heart. And I'm like, thank you. And he says, it's not a compliment.
It's not,
It led to a viral cardiomyopathy. And in some ways, right now, your heart function is less than 10% or at 5%. And we're going to put you on heart meds of a 90-year-old. It's code red. This is serious. This is 20 years ago.
yeah,
And through Norman, Dr. Lepore, and others' work, we got my heart function back up to 60, 70%. And when I spoke to my cardiologist after Colorado Springs in the cardiac arrest, she didn't say, how are you feeling? Are you okay? She says, what the F happened to you?
oh no,
Because I was not a candidate for this.
yeah,
Which goes into, I got to lead into, or you can lead into it, but I then took my heart cells and had them incubated at the Stanford Heart Institute by Dr. Wu.
yeah,
And Dr. Joe Wu is one of the top cardiologists in the world. And he did the genosequencing and mapping of my heart cells and discovered that my heart cells respond to stress, anxiety, different than a normal heart cell. So in that moment, in high altitude, I've worked really hard to build my company, WEconnect. So
yeah,
here I'm a guy that's in long-term recovery from mental health challenges and substance use disorder that experienced a panic attack after winning the French Open. Even with everything to live for, even with a very healthy and active lifestyle, the universe was giving me a timeout, and it's a messed up way to get a timeout, and
yeah,
a messed up way to get a different perspective and vision of my reality. And speaking of sobering moment, every moment, is a gift.
yeah,
And so here we
yeah.
stand today.
There we stand. Well, let's and it's an amazing story, but let's back up a little bit. Let's back up when you were kind of living the dream, if you want to say it. Well, you're probably living the dream now, but back then, I mean, were you really hanging out with Jimmy Buffett?
Oh, yeah.
That's gotta be
I've
great.
seen a lot of things, ladies and gentlemen, and some of
Yeah,
them actually happened. I don't know about the lettuce heads, but
yeah,
yeah, Jimmy Buffett became a dear friend, and his crew. I saw him last time I was with Jimmy was here in Seattle. He was rolling through town, But it came because our friendship came about as a result of a Rolling Stone interview. The Jensen brothers were rock and roll tennis or grunge tennis and Rolling Stone, and we became pop culture beyond the pages of Tennis Magazine, People Magazine, whatever. Even Playboy Magazine did a story. And Rolling Stone magazine did this incredible article, and Jimmy Buffett had read it. And I guess his daughters played tennis. And he
Yeah.
was reading this article about these long haired Harley Davidson riding Jensen brothers that love tennis and or music. And one of the questions, I'm playing the Cincinnati ATP Championships, like the fifth Grand Slam of the calendar. And he happened to be playing a show in town. And he had ringed. I didn't even know. I knew Margaritaville. Everyone knows the song
Yeah.
Margaritaville. Someone, the player's desk says, Jimmy Buffett is on the phone and is looking for Murphy Jensen. And I
That's
take the call, and in the interview, it says, what are you going to do when you're done playing tennis? And in the interview in the Rolling Stone magazine, I said, I'm going to open up a bait shack and spend my life fishing and playing music. And that's Jimmy
that,
Buffett, the tarpon fishing off of Key West, right?
yeah.
And and that led to a friendship. He came to our matches. We would meet up in Vegas and Aspen with the he hung with the greatest artist. He was and is one of the greatest artists of all time. And people might say, Murphy, you're out of your mind. No, he was a writer, he was a poet, he was a singer, he did so many things. He was a philanthropist, but he was an art. When the way I describe art is how you live your life.
Yeah. And talking about loving life, he certainly did that. So, and then, again, that was a time when you were just, you were a celebrity yourself and you're hanging out with celebrities. I mean, you had a son with Robin Givens,
Yeah,
and so that's the son that's at Seattle University, I understand. Is he
yeah.
graduated now? Is he on his way?
Graduated Seattle U with honors. Was on the tennis team. That's a shocker. And then he made his way down to Southern California and did 3 years at Loyola's film school. Finished top of his class. You can hear how proud I am of him.
Yeah.
Um, and uh, and now he did some work with A24, and now he's the chief executive assistant for an incredible producer with Temple Hill, and doing some
Wow.
incredible work. And this boy of mine, both boys are just the light of my life. To see them pursue their dreams, and my little guy his baby brother, 18 years younger, wants to make movies with his big brother someday.
Oh,
And
awesome.
it's really neat. And there's a lot of reasons to stick around.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Sometimes
Let,
you
let,
don't know.
let's back up to that French Open. So you're in the finals. I think I read where your brother said, "Hey, I think we can really win this thing," and I think your response was, "What? I'm just happy to be in Paris." But somehow, not somehow, you guys were awesome. You won the tournament, you
Yeah,
won the title,
yeah.
and but then you mentioned it earlier, and you had a panic attack about it. It just it wasn't all a bed of roses. So uh, can you? I'm
I
sure you've thought about this. What happened?
But in the moment, you have to realize what a locker room looks like when you see a baseball team win the World Series or their pennant or whatever. There's champagne, and there's thousands of people and photographers in a locker room. In tennis, at the beginning of a tournament, it's covered with people. You can't even, you're fighting for towels. But at the end, it's just you and your opponents. And it was a really, really big moment. We pulled it off 2 weeks, and we get it done. It's the first time I'm ever playing the French, and I had a fear, an underlying fear that I wasn't enough, that I sucked, that I didn't have what it took. and I had carried that a long time. And I didn't want what some kind of energy told me that my future was going to get out of control.
Hmm.
And it did.
Yeah.
I just wanted to be with my superhero, my brother. All I
Yeah.
ever wanted to do, and I think that's why I even played the game, was to be close to someone who always made me feel safe and protected, and like I'm the best, like I'm
Yeah.
enough.
I think you said that it was kind of tennis was Luke's game, not necessarily yours.
You know what? It's just funny when you look back and break it down. Back then, I know what drove me, my motive. My motive was to stay close to my superhero who offset the negative thoughts that I would carry.
Hmm.
Okay? This guy made me feel like I was the greatest. I might as well take his word for it. And but deep down I did not feel that way. And then I had this rush of energy come over me that this is going might get really big. And it did.
Yeah,
It
it
did.
did.
When I say we're the third biggest draw in the game, and this is what other people have told me, and things like that. It was Agassi and Sampras and the Jensen brothers, and we played stadium courts, and I wanted to be anywhere but where I was at. I was not
Yeah.
comfortable in my shoes. I was not, and I would escape me at whatever cost, and there would be a cost to that escape.
And you kind of handled that by getting into drugs and alcohol. Is that right?
Well, I think it started with self-medicating. It's one thing to go out and have a beer with the boys, the Australian legends from Rod Laver to whatever, they're famous for that. And you're
Yeah.
24 years old and you're old enough but back to the motive, I go back to the first time I had a drink of alcohol was when I was 12 years old. And I'm playing the world championships of 12 and under tennis at Disneyland.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
there's a photograph, a famous photograph. It's me and Andre Agassi and Michael Chang, Jim Courier, and this other hack, Pete Sampras. And
Yeah.
I just lost to this 12-year-old or 11-year-old, 7-6 in the third, and then I found myself in the apartment at Disneyland, and the New York kids said, "Hey, let's drink some vodka." I don't even know what vodka is. I'm 11, 12 years old.
Yeah.
And I said yes to that because I wanted your approval and I wanted your affection. I didn't know what I was chasing was to offset whatever, um, and I would chase that. And if I became the best in the world, or I'd get your approval and affection. And so that was the drive. And plus, to be close with my brother. My brother became the number one junior in the world at the age of 18, singles and doubles in the group class with Stefan Edberg and Boris Becker and others. And he was fast tracked and he went to USC because Arthur Ashe told him to get his education and not turn pro and not take the money. And then I go to college to USC following his footsteps. It's been, and then I get to USC and I don't have my hero with me, and I was just so driven. I was so driven to stay close to a place. So I think the anxiety and the self-medication was started with the alcohol, and then the drugs was to cover up the fears and doubts and insecurities I had about myself,
Yeah.
and the restlessness and irritability. I wasn't a morning person even when I was little. Now,
Yeah.
when I live life today and I'm looking through the eyes of my 8-year-old and he has his restlessness, irritability, and discontented mornings about going to school or brushing his teeth, and any parent can relate to these. Every child's different. I'm looking through the eyes of into my own soul with my little boy Duke, and he's an artist, and it's really cool, and he's got this imagination, and he gets overwhelmed, and he likes, we don't need to go too fast, slow is pro. And I didn't have any tools to prepare me for this rock and roll tennis lifestyle, and yeah, there were times where it was extremely fun until it wasn't. It's like the medicine worked until it didn't.
Yeah.
And And I've learned that I'm only as sick as my secrets, and I had no safe place to ask for help.
Hmm.
And it was in 1999, 6 years after winning the French, and a tour that didn't stop, that my son Billy was being born uh, in Los Angeles. I'm playing the U.S. Open, and I had reached, I don't necessarily like to use the term you hear a lot, rock bottom, but I was
Hmm.
at a jumping off place where my best thinking had me jumping out of a window in New York City. And it wasn't on the first floor, everybody. It was
Yeah.
on the 30th floor or whatever. And instead of the hotel manager calling the police, he called an interventionist and someone in recovery from these issues and someone that could help. And got a knock on the door, and the vanity in me, and I'm knocking on death's door. The walls are covered in blood, and it was bad. And I'm all alone. What our country, what people face today is the loneliness. I'm all alone beyond. I don't recognize myself. And he shares with this story, his story, and it was like, and he also shared with me that I didn't have to die today.
Hmm.
And my favorite part was that he said he helped Aerosmith get sober. And you know,
Yeah, I
how
mean,
cool
geez,
is Dream On?
you're a
You
guitar
know,
player, you're a music
pilot.
guy.
Hey, let's go. And so really cool. And it's funny, I became friends with, you know, Steven and a bunch of others. And I got a tap on my shoulder. And once again, but my point of reference to the cardiac arrest, and I went through a psych ward and a detox, and then a couple of years living in sober living while playing top 10 tennis in the world. I was willing to do anything. I
Hmm.
was willing to do anything that you suggested. If someone called me right now and said, walk to Northern Michigan from Seattle for your recovery, I do it. I don't ask questions. I don't get into debating and arguing. I've let go of my judgment and my opinion of how my life is supposed to look. I just keep right and left, right foot, left foot. Keep my feet moving, one step at a time.
Well, now you're giving back. I mean, you started this company, WeConnect Health, which helps uh, addicts and people that have had issues and mental
My
health problems.
people. I'm helping my
Yeah,
people. I'm helping
and
the
so that's
Murphys out there, or people
so
like me.
tell us a little bit about the company and what it is and what you're trying to do.
I 10 years, 11 years, maybe 12 years now ago, I'm flying around the world with famous people or coaching superstars. I got an opportunity for 10 years to coach Serena and Venus and a number of Hall of Famers, Nick Kyrgios, Sam Querrey, and others, and in World Team Tennis. And I got a tap on the shoulder that said I had more to offer this planet than this life. And so, with nothing on the other side, I met my co-founder who worked for Microsoft. And it was all because my mother-in-law asked me if I would take a family friend who was in an outpatient program to a support group meeting that I go to.
Yeah.
I still, after 26 years, go to support group meetings. And I said yes. And in that yes, he liked my tan. He goes, "Where did you get that tan?" I said, "I was at Richard Branson's Island at a tennis benefit." And he goes, "A girl in my outpatient program who works for Microsoft was there for an entrepreneurship uh, program, and you should meet her." She had this idea, and she shares with me, "I have no background in technology, no background in finance and funding, no background in healthcare, yet I find myself talking to you. We've served more than 1 million people from 30 countries. It's a mobile application that is designed to help people like me. It's an anonymous confidential to seek help. There's a free version. It's an app. You don't have to, call 911. no matter what. We've got mental health coaches and peer recovery support specialists. There's everything that supports my life today and my recovery for the past 26 years is embedded into this app. And now we're serving Medicaid throughout the country. We serve, you know, throughout California, Washington, Michigan, Texas, every city, every state. And it's taken a lot of money. I've been the finance and funding and the business development of WeConnect to get the efficacy that basically, we're saving not only human beings, get their lives back and their families back. Embedded in the app are the tools and the solution that have saved my life and then some. And it's way bigger. It's really rare air to find a business or work that's professional. It's a social impact for-profit organization. Check it out. WeConnectHealth.io is the website. There's a freemium version of the app. But there isn't a day that goes by that I don't get a call. When I transition, you can hear it in my voice. There isn't a day that goes by that I don't get a call from a Hall of Fame tennis player that doesn't want to live anymore, or a Hall of Fame tennis player that's son or daughter is in life support. I got a call from someone who I autographed this child's shoes that took their life. Who became a tennis player and then a coach of a college tennis team. And the data, it's easy if things are going okay for you to disregard the impact of COVID, the isolation, right? But the leading cause of death for people today, ages 12, 13 to 30, is suicide. Suicide. And I know what that thought looks like, and that don't come easy to get to.
Yeah.
And the pressures of our children for that security, approval, and affection, or the weight of a human's fears, doubts, and insecurities. How am I ever going to get this figured out? And how do we right size? So I built a company that is way bigger than anything I could have ever dreamed of when I got the knock on the door from the hotel manager in New York City.
Yeah. And then you just said it, isolation, being alone, that's what you were. And when you look at your journey, you must think that, if I would have had this assistance, this app, this mobile phone at those
Yeah.
times, would I have done it differently? And sounds
You,
like you think you would.
you know those things you see on TV in the middle of the night? And it says, hey, if you or someone have a drug or alcohol issue or have mental health challenges, are you thinking about suicide? Call this number. I've called those numbers. And everybody, we're all addicted to our phones. Download a free app, share it. The most frequented support group meetings within the app is actually family and loved ones of someone because they're lost. These issues take an entire family and community hostage. It's not just the person on the other end who's struggling with drugs or alcohol or anxiety or depression. It takes everybody hostage because my brother was scared to death of what was going to happen to Murphy. Is this the last time I'm going to see him? But I am living proof that these issues are treatable, preventable. I'm now become, I do work with the American Heart Association, and I'm starting my own mental health foundation. And you're going to have to teach me how to do a podcast because I'm going to do, a human podcast about just real life, with some interesting people. And they don't have to be the best in the world to be interesting. That could be the guy that's driving around Seattle on his bicycle, logging 10,000 miles a day. What motivates that guy? But, I think, and now, what I really have fun doing is sharing, you know, um,
Well,
my message with, I'm going to Cincinnati in a month to speak to some high schools, and companies, sharing around Heart Month and then Mental Health Month and National Recovery Month. But for me, every day is Mental Health Day. And
well, what's amazing to me is that, you're giving back in so many ways. You have the company, you're holding, events to raise money. You have the Gootter-Jensen Foundation you just talked about. You're talking about starting another foundation. So,
yeah,
it's awesome to take your challenges and your struggles and put them into positives and helping other people. So I commend you for doing that. It's really great. It's really great.
thank you, Stephen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I found out why I'm here. And that's to help people and be of service to others until the day I die and stop. Yeah,
Yeah.
no questions asked.
I was going to ask you too that back in the backstory, you had younger sisters that were twins, right?
Yeah,
And they played tennis.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
keep an eye out for the Diani's sisters. They are 14 and 16, and you know, some of the best tennis players for their age in the world. Dianni. I still have trouble spelling their name, but Jensen and Juliana are superstars. My twin sisters, what I'm really proud of as a family is that all four Jensens played at the Grand Slam level. And coming from a Christmas tree farm, that's not usually the place where Grand Slam tennis champions come from. And,
yeah, yeah, for
and
sure.
at the end of the day, it's about doing the work. Um,
So
and
you'd mentioned it earlier that in progress or in being done now, there's a documentary of your life. I think it's the name is Born to Serve,
yep,
which has double meaning there, obviously.
yep.
And so it's still in production. I mean, you got amazing his story. When's that going to come out? When can we watch it?
Well, let's pray for Aces. It's on my bucket list of if everything went my way this year and failure wasn't an option, it's release Born to Serve. So it was going to be released as a full-length feature doc prior to the cardiac arrest, but then that happens, and now it becomes a 3 or 5 part series.
Oh,
And
wow.
it's been in the hands of Amazon Prime Video, some Netflix folks. It's produced by Jeff Riley, High Watch Media. Now, he directed it, Jeff, and he was a former 30 for 30 guy, an Emmy Award winning documentary. I think we were coming out of COVID and the writer's strike and a bunch of other stuff. So right now it's in the distribution channels. I mean, it's easy fit for the tennis channel or ESPN for that matter. Uh, at the same time, my only goal is that the only reason I chose to share my story publicly was because it would be if it was to be helpful to anybody, I will do it. And I had to get the blessing of my family. It wasn't like, yeah, let's do this. It's a non-for-profit film, and I have no financial interest outside of um, it serving a greater good.
Yeah.
That's the truth.
Well,
So yeah, I have it. I have it in my computer, and when we get together for a coffee or something,
yeah,
I'll show you some of it. It's
love to.
really really exciting. It's the story of brothers. It's the story of a family that didn't give up on a family member that it would have been easy to give up on. And I think I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for my brother's love,
Yeah,
unconditional love, not when things are going well, but when things weren't going so well.
yeah, that's so awesome. And you being in the documentary film, I'm sure there's footage of you because you actually dabbled in acting a little bit. You've been in a few movies, right?
I did Wimbledon and Tennis Anyone and probably some other stuff
Yeah.
that I don't remember. Uh, I helped out with the Royal Tenenbaums movie for a hot second, but I didn't do anything. I had some other stuff going on, and I couldn't do it, and I didn't even. Let's all get honest here.
Yeah.
I'm starting my recovery journey in 1999 and living in Los Angeles. And tennis, my pro tennis career was winding down. And what better place to meet people than acting class, and make some friends, especially good looking friends. In Los Angeles, you go to acting class, there's probably going to be some pretty girls there.
Yeah.
And it's just wild that I live in Seattle, Washington today, having lived all over the world, but growing up in Michigan and then LA, and now I live in Seattle. The reason I say that out loud is because when I was in eighth grade, I said to my guidance counselor something that one day I learned about Seattle. And I said, one day I'm going to live in Seattle.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And think about that. I moved here 11 years ago, and that's a long time from the eighth grade. And here I am in Seattle. I met a girl in Los Angeles from Seattle or Bellevue or something, and she worked and we ended up getting married. And she ended up moving to Michigan to bring my dad to the finish line of life. It's crazy. There's so much life for this planet to live. I've really taken a hard look at why we're here and what's it all about. I mean, it's not what I thought it was. And if you want to make God laugh, tell it your plans,
Yeah.
the universe, and to me, it's getting right with me on the inside out. And here I find myself in Seattle, and I've overcome a bunch of stuff, and no guidance counselor would have said, okay, this is what's going to happen. You're going to drop dead one day, and you're going to, be a mental health case. And I think the secret sauce is an open mind and an open heart.
Yeah.
Be
Yeah.
open minded and open hearted, and you can really achieve anything.
Well, your sign behind you there just says it all. I mean, what we're going through right now with the polarization and all the kind of stuff that's going on in our world. I mean, if we can just be kind to each other and love each other, I mean, that makes a big difference.
There's a principle I live by, that I got through recovery, and I use it in my home. I use it in my business, and it will save the world. And it's a real simple statement. Our common welfare comes first.
Yeah.
It's not what's good for me. It's not what's good for you. It's not what's good for the engineering team or the product team. It's what's good for the people we serve. And we serve one another all day long. And you don't have to have the same ideas as me, but I can be kind. I can be kind. It costs nothing to be kind. And it's costs nothing to be empathetic.
Yeah.
I'm since the cardiac arrest, I'm very sensitive to suffering. So it's impossible for me to watch TV or when I see an ambulance drive by, I'm having a different experience than a normal person seeing an ambulance. Oh, there's an ambulance. I've been in that back of that ambulance when I'm seeing, and I have PTSD that I didn't know. And when things are unsafe, I feel them on an energetic level. Uh, so here we are, Stephen,
Yeah.
doing today, and I believe I get faith and trust through nature that things are going to be okay. That tree and that mountain and that snow comes and goes and grows. These things, the tides come in and the tides go out, but I think the earth is built to save itself, and
Yeah.
that includes us crazy humans.
Well, that's a healthy outlook, that's for sure. Now I have to ask, are you still playing the guitar?
Yeah, you want to see
Yeah.
what I'm playing right now?
Yeah. What do you got?
I've got right there. I've got my wedding gift, which is a Collings, a
Oh. Love
Jumbo
calling.
Indian. Mr. Collins made that for me.
Oh, that
You
was.
play?
I do play. I have a 1984 Martin D35, and
Right?
Collins is amazing. Those guitars. I've never played one that didn't just blow me away about how great it sounds. So yeah.
This thing and the smell of it. So a friend of mine was the next door neighbor to Willie Nelson and I roll into Austin, Texas because I'm going to the factory and Mr. Collins before he died basically designed what and we went through the whole factory, but I was in the guitar shop trying all the guitars before I went to the tour with Mr. Collins. And Jerry Jeff Walker was standing over there, right? And you got
Yeah.
to know Jerry Jeff
Yeah,
Walker,
yeah, yeah,
Mr.
yeah.
Bojangles.
Oh, of course. Yep.
And he comes over and I'm looking at Colin and he came up to me in the middle of the afternoon in Austin, Texas, and he goes, "Hey, you're just a campfire guitar picker. You don't need one of those fancy, expensive Collins guitars. Check out one of these." I said, "Well, it's a wedding gift." And he goes, "Oh, let's get you the most expensive one you can get."
There you go.
And he
All
goes,
right. So
"Do you play
there's room
any do you play any electric guitar?"
uh, I have an electric guitar. I have a Stratocaster
Yeah.
that 1983, 84, I think it is too, 85. But I've never been in a band, and I'm not very good at it. So the acoustic is the one I always pick up. That's for sure.
I'm
But it looks good. It looks good in the corner of the room on the stand.
three chords in a cloud of dust right here.
Yeah, that's
And I
great.
love it. Emerald City Guitars in Seattle are my
Oh
favorite.
yeah, I bought a 12 string from him down there, and he's just a good Jay is his name that used
Yeah,
to
you
own
got
it.
no Jay and Trevor.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm
Hmm.
selling a bunch of stuff. I sold what was a Gretsch Country Gentleman, a
Oh yeah.
1962 something recently, and I sold because I sold 10 of these. And please, I had problems buying stuff in the 90s, guys. But I sold all my Stratocasters, kept a telly, and I've got this purple Jimi Hendrix gold whatever Marshall stacks.
Oh
I've
wow.
never played them. And and I bought them with my money from winning the or making the finals of the Sydney Open in Sydney, Australia. I went into Guitar Center and there are these custom limited edition things. But in this town, the amount of calls I got for the Jimi Hendrix edition amps
Yeah.
was crazy.
What a great story.
Yeah, I'm leaving a bunch of stuff to my sons, but other than that, I don't need. I'd rather have all this stuff go to people that can. I'm not good enough to play amps like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Murphy, we've covered a lot of ground today, but in anticipation of our discussion, is there anything I haven't asked you or brought up that you want to be sure and get in the program today?
No, we just went on a segue just there about guitars, and you might have to
Uh,
cut that out.
yeah.
I don't know. Is there anything? No, I'm here to serve. End stop. I said that earlier. Until the day I die. Today I'm working at my office, and I would say this: if you or anyone listening or someone you love is having issues that you heard today that I experienced, you know, always, always, always in your life, no matter what you're going through, leave room for a miracle.
Yeah.
Absolutely leave room for a miracle. Don't write Murphy off because he messed up. Murphy, if he can get some footing, is going to make it up to you.
Yeah.
And he's going to get it. Murphy isn't dead, and so if you got a Murphy in your life, just pray for him and leave room for a miracle.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, usually at this point in the interview, I always ask my guests the same common question. And that question is, what is a pearl of wisdom you can leave us with today? But I think you just did it.
Oh,
So, unless there's anything to add to that, I think.
no, pearl of wisdom. Well, I'll tell you what I told Serena and Venus Williams and my teams when they didn't want to practice today. So, well, you can't stay clean on yesterday's shower, so we got to go out and practice again today. And then they would say, I'm losing my mind on the court. And I'm like, well, you can't unscramble scrambled eggs. So just deal with it. Anyway, which
That's
is,
great.
have some fun. Rule 62. Rule 62 is not taking Murphy Jensen too dang serious. I don't want to take myself too serious. And if nobody's told you they love you today, I do, and there's not a damn thing you can do about it.
So well said. Well, Murphy, this has been a real pleasure. I've followed you for a long time. I remember exactly, as I said earlier in the program, when I saw
Yep.
you hit the scene, and you were a big inspiration to my son. He thought you and your brother were the coolest dudes ever. And so it's great to finally meet somebody that you remember from back then. And since we're neighbors, yeah, I think maybe we should have that coffee sometime. And
Yeah, come on down. I'm right on Winslow Way in
yeah,
Bainbridge Island, Washington, above the ice cream shop. You can't miss me. I'm drilling a hole down to the mint chip section.
that'd be a
Yeah,
good idea. That'd be
right?
great.
Well,
Well,
thank
Murphy,
you,
thanks.
Stephen.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it. Have a good rest of your day, and thanks for being my guest today.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye bye. Thank you for listening to another episode of Profiles in Leadership. To listen to all my interviews, subscribe to Profiles in Leadership with Steve Anderson on Apple Podcasts, iTunes, and many other popular podcast platforms. Some of these interviews are on video, and you can search YouTube for Profiles in Leadership with Steve Anderson. You can also access the entire library of interviews on my website, orange.coaching.com, and that is orangetheword.coaching.com, and go to the Media Center and click on Podcasts or Video Gallery. You can also enter the website from pilpodcast.com.